Hopefully the videos so far have given you a good look inside this hidden language of design. It's common for beginners to think of concept art as just making stuff that looks cool. But as I've said before, that's just a little bit off the mark. The real job of a concept artist is making things look obvious. And because the audience is going to be pummeled by information all day long, it's up to you to make it as clear as possible. So when they see your character pop over that ridge, they have to know immediately if it's a good guy or a bad guy. And we have talked about a lot of different rules over the course of this series. You don't need to remember all the rules all the time. If you can remember one thing, it's to think about design language as a visual hierarchy. And I think the game Team Fortress 2, made by Valve, really does a great job at this. When you look at their characters, they immediately say, "This is my job." That is the immediate read. And then as you move down the hierarchy, you see smaller and smaller details that give supporting information about his character. So this stuff is nice to add context, but really the immediate read, the top of the visual hierarchy, is the most important. So when you're making decisions about your characters or your props or your environments, remember the immediate read. What is your audience going to see first? Because that might be all they ever see. And the second most important thing to remember is that what you're designing is not going to stand on its own. There's not going to be a white background behind your character or your prop. It's going to be part of a larger picture. It's going to be part of a story. So as a counterpoint, let's look at the Transformers video game. Every model in this game looks awesome, but as a result, it's very confusing. Everything is shiny and spiky and glittery and has glowing bits and it's awesome and it's shooting missiles. Well, that's really cool if you were designing one character on a white background. But if everything is equally loud and exciting, what you get is confusing level design. This is what's going to get players lost because they don't know where to go. There's not enough emphasis. Because let's face it, we're artists and we want to put our visual stamp on the art that we participate in. But it's more important to be a part of this bigger picture. Team Fortress 2 really got it right. Their characters say a lot, and they're sort of the center of the action. And then if you look at their level design, they have very obvious objectives. You know where everybody's supposed to be centering on this map because one thing stands above all the others as the most visually important. So all the designs in this level are good, but they're not all exciting. The background elements stay background because they want to point their attention at the emphasis, at the focal point. They really get the visual hierarchy. So here we are. This is the end of the instruction I'm going to give you, but really this is just an introduction to this wide world of design, because I'm not sure exactly what you want to use these rules for. So hopefully you can apply them to whatever work you want to do. But the best way to learn this stuff is to practice, and to practice on your own. So my recommendation is to give yourself fake assignments that mimic real-world design. Do you want to get into video games or movies? Try designing a prop. I know this is going to sound boring, but this is incredibly useful for industry experience. Pick a game that you like and then design some mundane object for one of the levels. The trick is matching the existing style and art direction that's already in that game. This is where copying is really important. Because if you wanted to make a fire hydrant for Team Fortress 2, it would look pretty different than a fire hydrant for Gears of War. First thing is identifying the visual hallmarks of the game. And then you apply that same visual shorthand to your fire hydrant or your ammo crate, whatever you want to design. So I've actually spent a lot of time professionally designing props like these. And it's actually a lot more engaging than you might guess. Even simple background objects can take advantage of the language of design. Just remember not to make them too loud because they probably don't want to attract too much of the user's attention. Another assignment I like is to design a character or a place that's described in a book. You'll have a few sentences or maybe a paragraph to work from, but then it's all your imagination. So it's up to you to think about information hierarchy. What's the most important thing to emphasize? Especially when you're working from a book, which doesn't really have a visual starting point. You're going to be working on a blank canvas. So if you're ever having trouble thinking of something to draw, novels, especially fiction novels, are a great place to get inspired. The final suggestion I'd make is actually the same exercise I did when I was in college wanting to get into the game industry. And that was to make an entire fake project. Whether it's an idea that already exists or one you dream up, and then design lots of stuff for it. I'm going to encourage you to get the book The Skillful Huntsman, because this is a great example of this type of project. These graduate students just took a few-page story out of the Grimm fairy tales and then went crazy. They designed characters and weapons and environments and props, and they really fleshed out this world. So this is just like the other assignments I suggested, but deeper. By developing a story like this and staying consistent and going into deep detail, this is what an actual concept artist does. So here you'll be thinking about the information hierarchy on two different levels. First within each object, but then also you have to think of all the objects as a collection. It will take planning, it will take dedication, but if you can get through it, this is a fantastic way to develop your skills as a concept artist and also to build a portfolio. No matter how you decide to practice, always be designing. Whether it's a character, the layout of your personal website, remember these ideas. Emphasis, balance, shape, color, material, each of these decisions means something. Your audience is gonna draw some message from them even if you're not considering it. And honestly, just have fun using this hidden language of design. Thanks for coming to Control Paint, guys.